The infamous murderous conqueror Genghis Khan is squinting his eyes, staring ahead at the one who, having crossed mile after mile of rugged mountain barriers, has rushed forward. Not far away he spots him, for the final battle to annihilate the Khwarezmian Empire. At that moment, every muscle in his body is taut, and he feels a surge of intense excitement in his blood, Genghis Khan. Meanwhile, defeated in one battle after another against the Mongols, Jalaluddin Khwarazmi, the last Shah of the Khwarezmian Empire, was trying to cross the Indus River with his remaining 3,000 soldiers. But he couldn't save himself in the end. By then, Genghis Khan had arrived there with his 50,000 soldiers. The date was November 24, 1221. The Indus River near the present-day Kalabag city in Punjab was then counting down to an extremely fierce battle. Even though defeat was certain against Genghis Khan's massive army, Jalaluddin did not bow his head. In the first clash of the Battle of the Indus, he unexpectedly held back the Mongols. But he couldn't hold out for long. Around noon, Jalaluddin decided to flee. The outcome of the battle had already been decided much earlier. Suddenly, breaking through the Mongol defenses, Jalaluddin advanced and did something unbelievable. Spurring his horse, he leaped down a nearly 30-foot steep cliff into the waters of the Indus. Impressed by Jalaluddin's such bravery, Genghis Khan ordered his archers not to shoot arrows. Pointing to his sons, he said, "Without fortune, one cannot become the father of such a son." With fewer than 4,000 soldiers, Jalaluddin managed to cross the Indus and save his life. On the other side of the Indus River was the position of the then Indian subcontinent. Under Muslim rulers, India was then one of the world's richest and most prosperous countries. At that time, India was under the rule of the Turkish Mamluk dynasty. The third sultan of this dynasty, Shamsuddin-Iltutmish, was the ruler of India. Qutbuddin Aibak had established the Mamluk dynasty in India in 1206. Meanwhile, before reaching the banks of the Indus, Genghis Khan's Mongol army had captured the vast Khwarezmian Empire under Jalaluddin's rule. This Khwarezmian Empire spanned present-day Iran, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, parts of Kazakhstan, Tajikistan, Kyrgyzstan, and northern and western India, including Afghanistan. The rulers of this empire were Turks at that time. During the conquest of this vast empire, the Mongol invading army unleashed destruction on historic cities like Samarkand, Bokhara, and Nishapur. They demolished mosques, crushed sacred Islamic texts including the Holy Quran, and devastated the heartland of Islam, Genghis Khan's army. In this rampage of destruction, the Mongols chased Jalaluddin from Uzbekistan to western India. Jalaluddin, like the then Indian ruler Iltutmish, was also a descendant of the Turkish Mamluk lineage. So, he hoped that Iltutmish would grant him refuge in India. In the war with this Jalaluddin, one of Genghis Khan's sons and a general had lost their lives. For the first time, Jalaluddin had built a strong resistance against the Mongol army and halted the Mongols' world-conquering advance. But in the end, he couldn't hold out. At the age of 25, Jalaluddin was pursued with full force by Genghis Khan. In the final encounter, Jalaluddin couldn't prevail. He barely crossed the Indus, entered India, and saved his life. The Mongol army's leader, Genghis Khan, could have crossed the Indus and attacked India at that time. This would have allowed him to eliminate Jalaluddin on one hand and seize the prosperous India by capturing the Delhi Sultanate on the other. But Genghis Khan did not do that. Although by then, the Mongols had already conquered China and captured Beijing. An unstoppable feat, the Karachitan Empire in Central Asia and the vast Khwarezmian Empire were under the feet of Genghis's army. All in all, the great butcher Genghis had become an unstoppable, all-conquering war machine. It seemed no one had the ability to stop him. Yet, the question arises repeatedly, why didn't Genghis Khan invade India? Today, in this episode, I will try to discuss this controversial topic in detail. Undoubtedly, Genghis Khan was history's greatest conqueror. He was never defeated in a single military campaign in his life. So, after reaching the banks of the Indus, he could have invaded India, crushed the Delhi Sultanate, and become the world's most powerful ruler. But the world conqueror Genghis Khan kicked away the opportunity to conquer India and decided to return to Mongolia. He left his own administrators and soldiers to govern Afghanistan. These were the ancestors of today's Hazaras. Genghis Khan's decision not to invade India has puzzled historians for century after century. As a result, the matter remains a mystery to this day. There are several theories about why he made this decision. In the biography of one of his Chinese advisors, it is claimed that a talking unicorn appeared before Genghis and instructed him to return quickly from India. Although this is nothing but a fairy tale. The Persian historian Javani said that India's hot climate was extremely difficult for the Mongol army, accustomed to fighting in cold weather. But the Mamluks also came from cold-dominated regions. So this theory is considered as fanciful as the story of a flying horse with a lion's head. It is also claimed that one of the main reasons Genghis Khan did not invade India was religion. The Mongols believed in ancient polytheism, known in English as Tengriism. It is said that Tengriism has similarities with Hinduism. For this reason, it is assumed that he did not want to shed blood on the sacred land that gave birth to Hinduism and Buddhism, although Genghis Khan carried out barbaric massacres on Muslims. So, to understand why Genghis Khan returned to Mongolia without invading India, we need to try to understand him as a person and as a leader. In fact, Genghis Khan is such a mysterious personality that much about him remains unknown even today. He did not explain many of the decisions he made. Unlike Julius Caesar, Marcus Aurelius, or Napoleon Bonaparte, he left no memoirs or accounts of his career. Primarily, information about Genghis Khan comes from two sources. The first is The Secret History of the Mongols, written after his death. The second is the descriptions given by those he attacked, that is, the accounts from his enemies. From these sources, we learn about Genghis Khan's career, but we actually know little about the motives behind these actions. In other words, we all more or less know what he did, but we can say that no one knows why he did those things. Therefore, to understand why he decided not to invade India, we can try to learn about his motives and mindset. And to know that, we must analyze his career. We need to try to understand what inspiration made him known as an infamous invader. Genghis Khan was born in Mongolia sometime between 1155 and 1167. His name at birth was Temujin. His father, Yasugei Baghadur, was a wealthy and influential leader of the Borjigin subclan. The Mongols were a nomadic people, and the Mongolia where Temujin was born was fragmented and divided. Due to the southern Chinese Empire, there was conflict and strife among local clans on one hand, and they collected tribute from the Mongolian clans on the other. Whenever the Mongols tried to unite, the Chinese launched punitive expeditions against them. They either enslaved them or killed them. One of Temujin's relatives, Khan Ambagai, tried to form a confederation of several clans. But a few years before Temujin's birth, he was captured. Then he was taken to China and killed with extreme brutality. In this way, the Chinese kept conflicts and clashes among the Mongols for century after century. From The Secret History of the Mongols, we learn that when Temujin, i.e. Genghis Khan, was a 9-year-old child, his father was killed by a Turkish clan known as the Tatars. Genghis Khan's family was also exiled by their own clan and left to die in the freezing cold. In the vast barren land of Mongolia, trees grow very little. In winter, the temperature there drops below -30 degrees Celsius. Being exiled in such a harsh environment is equivalent to a death sentence. Genghis Khan survived even in that harsh environment and cruelty. Although Temujin's father was wealthy, after his death, that wealth was of no use. Everything was confiscated. So, Genghis Khan understood well that power is worth much more than wealth. Power can make anyone wealthy, but wealth cannot make anyone powerful. If someone is wealthy without power, they cannot protect that wealth. Genghis had no trouble understanding that. So, for the rest of his life, he only pursued power. In fact, he despised wealth and used it only as a tool. Therefore, Genghis Khan focused on warfare and acquiring power. This began right in his homeland. In 1206, when Temujin, i.e. Genghis, was nearly 50 years old, he defeated every Mongol clan and created a unified Mongol nation. The Mongols then bestowed upon him the title Genghis Khan, meaning universal ruler. Now, when you have a newly created nation whose clans have been fighting each other for many centuries, there is no alternative but to unite them and keep them engaged so that old divisions do not resurface. Keeping them united and busy in some task was an easy way. Genghis Khan did just that. He led them to attack China. Primarily, this was a retaliatory attack. Its purpose was to avenge the murder of his relative Ambagai and to punish the Chinese for centuries of interference and brutality. At that time, China was ruled by two dynasties: the Western Xia dynasty in northern China and the Jin dynasty in the east. By 1210, Genghis Khan captured the Western Xia Empire, and its emperor submitted to Mongol rule, becoming a vassal of Genghis Khan. Then Genghis began attacking the Jin dynasty's territory and captured Beijing in 1215. Meanwhile, in 1218, the Karakhitan Empire captured a Mongol city and killed its ruler, who was Genghis Khan's grandson-in-law. In revenge, the Mongols counterattacked and captured Karakhitan, bringing the borders of the Khwarezmian Empire under Mongol control. In the same year, Genghis Khan sent a powerful trade delegation of 500 people to Khwarezm to establish commercial relations. The then Sultan of Khwarezm was Ala ad-Din Muhammad, who was Jalal ad-Din's father. On his orders, that Mongol trade delegation was killed in the city of Otrar, and their goods were auctioned in Bokhara. Then Genghis Khan sent 3 envoys to meet Ala ad-Din Shah and demanded the handover of Otrar's governor for punishment. Before sending them back, the Shah beheaded one ambassador and severely humiliated the other 2. As a result, Genghis Khan, enraged, attacked Khwarezm and destroyed the entire empire in revenge. Ala ad-Din Shah fled to a small island in the Caspian Sea and died there. His son Jalal ad-Din became the new Shah and fought desperately against Genghis Khan. What remained of the Khwarezmian army was destroyed in that battle on the banks of the Indus River in 1221. Meanwhile, when Genghis Khan attacked Khwarezm, the Western Xia emperor, who was his vassal, refused to provide troops. In revenge for this betrayal, after conquering Khwarezm, Genghis Khan returned to China with his army and attacked the Western Xia Empire again. After recapturing the region by 1227, he prepared to attack the Jin Empire once more, as they had also started rebelling by then. But before invading the Jin Empire, Genghis Khan died mysteriously in 1227. Later, his son Ogdi captured the Jin Empire, and his grandson Kublai Khan established the Yuan dynasty in China. Therefore, from a brief account of Genghis Khan's career, we see that he attacked the Western Xia Empire and the Jin Empire to avenge the murder of his relative Ambagai and centuries of Chinese interference and brutality. He attacked the Karakhitan Empire in revenge for capturing a Mongol city and killing his grandson-in-law. Similarly, he attacked Khwarezm in response to extreme provocation and avenged himself before death by attacking the Western Xia Empire again for betrayal. It is clear that Genghis Khan's attacks were always retaliatory. He went to war only when there was a reason for war. However, he sent his ambitious sons to conquer distant lands because he did not want civil war among his sons after his death. But in his career, he committed atrocities in various empires only to take revenge. He killed millions of people. So, let's now shed light on the possible reasons why Genghis Khan did not invade India. Since Genghis Khan was vengeful, the then Sultan of India, Iltutmish, was very cautious about not provoking him. When Genghis Khan pursued Jalal ad-Din and attacked Punjab, Iltutmish wisely kept his hands folded. Although Punjab was part of his territory, and even more cleverly, he refused to grant Jalal ad-Din refuge in India. Through this, Iltutmish managed to divert Genghis Khan's attention away from India. But why didn't Genghis Khan pursue and kill Jalal ad-Din? The answer is simple. With the destruction of his army, Jalal ad-Din, who had lost his empire, had lost everything. He was a Shah in name only. Genghis Khan, the shrewd one, understood that he would never become a real threat again. Moreover, at that time he was busy taking revenge on the Western Xia Empire. But what about India's priceless wealth? Didn't that tempt Genghis Khan? Can be said that probably not. As I said earlier, he despised wealth and always used it as a tool. His soldiers looted vast amounts of wealth during the conquest of various empires. But he personally kept none of it. He distributed it equally among his soldiers and commanders. So, it can be said that India's wealth did not attract Genghis Khan. It is also possible that he did not want to harm the people of India. He knew that if he attacked, whether he wanted it or not, a huge number of innocent ordinary people there would die. Perhaps he wanted neither to harm nor help the people of India. Culture cannot be ruled out as a reason for not invading India. Perhaps Genghis Khan felt a cultural affinity with India, although there is no substantial evidence or proof in favor of this. Still, many researchers do not want to dismiss this possibility. Even today, Indian influences can be seen in Mongolian society and culture. Finally, it must be said that no specific evidence or proof has been found to date that explains why Genghis Khan did not invade India. However, by analyzing the sequence of events and Genghis Khan's career, several reasons can be assumed for not invading India. But the then ruler of India, Iltutmish, through his clever foreign policy, ensured that Genghis Khan's gaze did not fixate on India, that truly deserves praise.